Unfortunately, we're not shocked when we hear about a teacher having sex with a student, but it happened here in Arizona, and who else knew is what is shocking. Welcome to the Mike Broomhead Show.
Well, I got a message, I got a song. Can I get a witness? Tell me what's going on. I show the people.
Welcome back to the AZ TV 7 studios. It's the Mike Broomhead Show. We're glad that you've joined us. A lot to get to this week. We have got a great interview coming up this week. We have got Phoenix Police Chief Joe Yahner, and he really is a cop's cop, and it's an interview that you're not going to want to miss, talking about staffing and issues. And he's been a cop for 30 years. He talks about how the city changes. It's a great interview. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Of course, we've got Broomhead's Best, hashtag this, as we do every week. But we start the show off with the headlines of the week. It's called The Sweep. Peoria, Arizona. A teacher named Brian Woolsey having sex with a 15-year-old student. Now, this started over 3 years ago with a girl that was 15 years old and a student at the school. Now, as shocking as that sounds to a lot of us, it's not shocking anymore because it happens so often. What is shocking is the victim comes forward. Her name is Abiel Valencia. She comes forward and tells police that not only did this teacher that she has start having sex with her at 15, she alleges over 100 encounters, his house, her house, in parked cars. He had videotaped some of the encounters. But what really shocked me about this story is that the teacher's wife, Jennifer Woolsey, is also a teacher at the high school, and she knew what was going on. According to the police reports, the girl texted the wife, Jennifer Woolsey, in front of the police and said, "How could you possibly stay with a man and raise children with him when he was having sex with a 15-year-old? Jennifer Woolsey, in the text messages and the replies in the police report, very apologetic about the affair, very apologetic about not doing anything, saying she spent so much time dealing with her own grief, she didn't help this girl with hers. To think about a man preying upon a 15-year-old girl is horrible. But his wife knew. She has children of her own. She's a teacher at the high school. She never told him to stop, apparently. She didn't turn him into the police. She didn't turn him into the administration. And you know what? If there are other victims here, this wife is really going to be held accountable for it. It is just a despicable act and just unfortunate. Court appearances are going to happen next week. The next story in the headlines was the city of Glendale and this anti-discrimination bill. They've talked about this in the past, and we know other cities have passed it. It's for the LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. And the question is it necessary? Now, listen, I have a lot of fun and poke fun at the city of Glendale all the time. They've got enough issues that are real to fix. Do we really need this? They're creating a protected class of people. You shouldn't be able to do anything against anyone. So it doesn't make sense here to do this because what's the issue? What are the benefits of this? And they're saying that it protects them from discrimination, but what examples do they have of discrimination? You know, I think if a couple is beat up, if a couple is attacked because they're gay, they shouldn't be. Just like if a man and wife are out, they shouldn't be attacked. But one should not benefit from laws of protection more than another. That's where the problems lie. They call things hate crimes. The question is, there was a college in Toronto this week that's getting rid of the gender-neutral bathrooms because boys in college, shockingly enough, and this is how crazy it was, the shower stalls and the bathroom stalls in the bathrooms were co-ed. So there could be a girl taking a shower in a stall next to a guy taking a shower in the stall next to her. Well, oddly enough, I know you're going to be shocked by this, but the guys had their cell phones and a couple of times were reaching over the top of the shower and filming the girls. Well, the university said, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. I thought, well, it's about time. I understand being progressive, but this is really crazy. In Afghanistan, Doctors Without Borders is an organization that does great work, and they volunteer in Afghanistan, and they had a hospital that they were running. The United States had an airstrike and hit this hospital. The general there has taken responsibility. The President of the United States has apologized to Doctors Without Borders. Senator McCain said the airstrike was avoidable. Well, all of these apologies happened, but the organization Doctors Without Borders has said They don't want the United States or NATO doing the investigation. They want an independent investigation of war crimes in this, done by this impartial board that was put together by the Geneva Convention. They say they can't trust them. Well, the president has apologized but said, we're not going to cooperate with an outside agency. We're going to do an investigation, we're going to be transparent, and we're going to be fair. It's a long way from over. They haven't even stopped counting yet. They still have people missing. Last but not least, ASU and the blackout. What a great tradition. And you show up, black uniforms. If you've not seen ASU's black uniforms, they are cool. Black pants, black jerseys, matte black helmets with the gold fork. They look great. The students and fans show up in all black clothing, and a couple of years they've shown up in blackface. Well, the questions were, is this racially insensitive? I'm 48 years old. I only remember Al Jolson because my grandparents used to listen to Al Jolson. Nobody at ASU understood what blackface was. It wasn't done racially insensitive. Some of the black students at ASU were showing up with the face paint. The athletic department at ASU has said, please don't paint your face at all. Are we really turning college football politically correct? This is about bonding. This is about students doing something unique, and the blackout is great. The Coyotes, starting their season this week, they have the whiteout during all of their events in the playoffs. You go to a Coyotes game, all white. Is that racist? Of course it's not. It's sports. Let them have some fun. Don't cave into political correctness. In a moment, Phoenix Police Chief Joe Yahner joins me on the show. It is incredible. And later on today, we'll talk about the shootings at NAU. What do they have in common with Oregon? That'll happen right here on the show after Chief Yahner, so make sure you stick around. And don't forget to reach out to us via social media. We love the outreach.
The Mike Broomhead Show is brought to you in part by Cliff Castle Casino Hotel, Arizona Christian University, and Sanderson Ford.
This week, my guest is Phoenix Police Chief Joe Yahner. Chief, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about policing in general. You've been a cop for what, 30 years?
30 years.
How has Phoenix changed?
Phoenix has changed a lot. I mean, 30 years ago, we had about half the population we do now. Police work has changed. I mean, everything from on-body cameras, cell phone technology. Think about it, 30 years ago, we didn't have cell phones, and where we're at today. DNA. I mean, I could go on and on. Technology has had a huge impact on policing and police work.
What's your opinion on the body cameras?
I think it's a great tool. Fully support body cameras. There's a lot of talk about transparency in police work, and with a body camera, it really helps. From a citizen's complaint perspective, from prosecution, from accountability, both on the officer level as well as the citizens. Everybody's behavior is a little bit better when you're on video.
It's interesting. I'm fortunate to know a lot of Phoenix officers, and everyone I've ever talked to now says that you're a great chief. You're a cop's cop, and I think that's probably the biggest compliment you can pay an officer. How is that perspective for you? Because now you've got to worry about the politics of the city, but at the same time, you're commanding a police department. How do you manage the politics of it?
I try not to. I try to do my job to the best of my ability. I'm a department head. I don't profess to be a politician. I have to meet with the politicians and make sure we meet their needs. But I try to run the police department, keep the community in the best interest, and the police officers, our employees in the best interest, and everything will work out. So if I focus on those two things, it keeps me out of the political ring.
I've been pretty vocal about the staffing at Phoenix PD. The hiring freeze that was on for a few years, and then now they're starting to hire again. But is the hiring just going to keep up with the attrition you're going to see in the next few years? And do you think you need to hire more officers? You need more officers than you have now?
We need more than we have now. As you mentioned, we have reduced down almost 600 officers in the last 5 or 6 years. That's huge. And despite all that reduction in staff, we're still providing very good customer service and very good community safety to Phoenix and its residents. So I'm very proud of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department because they're working harder, they're working longer, they're working smarter, we're using technology better, but it's been a difficult 5 or 6 years. Recently, with the support of the mayor and the city council, we're starting to hire again. We're on task to hire about 275 officers this fiscal year, which is a lot of people to hire in 1 year. Will that keep up with attrition? That will, but over time, we lose 55 people we know in retirements this year. We lose 89 next year. calendar years. So it's a constant battle. So we have to hire and continue to hire for consecutive years for 5 or 6 years in a row to get us back up to, in my opinion, an acceptable level, which is about 3,200 police officers. Right now we're at about 2,694, 2,700 police officers.
How long does it take an officer to kind of really get the job? I mean, you graduate from the police academy, you start through training, but how long does it take an officer to really get their feet under them and be comfortable as an officer, do you think?
My humble opinion is a couple years. Very complex job. I mean, we arrest people, we take away their freedom, we use deadly force. We do a lot of things that are very high liability, high complexity, decision making instantly, traffic law, criminal law. There's a ton of things that a police officer is responsible for. So you can't learn that in the classroom. You can't learn that in an FTO program. You learn that through the classroom, the FTO program, experience and repetition and volume. So that all takes a while. And to be in my humble opinion, to be competent and really have been around a little bit, you need at least a couple years under your belt.
So does it pose a new challenge for you hiring so many officers in 1 year where you know you're going to have that 275 on the street as new officers? You're really relying on the sergeants and the people that are above them to kind of show them the way.
Absolutely. That's a huge challenge to hire that many officers that quickly. First of all, to find that many applicants that meet our Arizona Post standards and requirements, get them through training, get them out on the street, and move forward from there. That's challenging, and we are. Burden's the wrong word. It's going to be hard to hire that many, train, and get them proficient because it'll take away from the officers that are actually doing on the street. I was reading some numbers this morning. We're going to have to increase our field training officers by almost 200 officers to hire the 275 that are coming off the street or coming through the academy. So field training officers, training somebody, you're less efficient than when you're out by yourself taking care of business.
In other parts of the country, there is a very vocal anti-police sentiment. We watch what happened in Ferguson. But even in the protests here in Phoenix, I think one of the most significant things that's happened here in Phoenix, and that was during the protest where they marched to the Phoenix headquarters. There was a moment where an officer in full riot gear actually bent down and talked to the little girl who was the daughter of the man that had been killed. And it was such a great moment. I think it showed kind of what Phoenix is all about because you're human beings. And I wish the rest of the country could look at Phoenix and say, this is really how you can protest. But there really isn't that adversarial opinion, is there, of Phoenix PD?
You say anti-policing nationwide. I see that. I don't feel it here. I think we have the support of our community. I go to meetings all the time and people talk about the professionalism of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, and I truly believe that. Do we make mistakes and can we improve? Absolutely. The things we talk about when we do those protests are be compassionate, show empathy. Yeah, we're going to take care of business if we have to, but more than likely we want everybody to have their rights, exercise their rights, do it peaceably, and go about our ways. So that's always our goal.
Recently, I had somebody that was complimenting you and said that we had asked the chief after this recent shooting involving an officer in Phoenix, they had talked to you about two-man units when it's necessary in their minds and when it's applicable. Is it difficult, because Phoenix is such a wide city, is it difficult to do that with two-man units or two officer units?
Well, we run two-man units all the time. So sometimes we increase and we go down based on what's going on from an employee well-being perspective. Two-man units are not necessarily safer. We've had 2 officers killed in New York, two in Las Vegas. So they're not necessarily safer. It's more of an employee well-being thing. But also, as you mentioned, we're 518 square miles. And we want to get to those calls and get to our citizens' needs as soon as we can. We want to be visible. Visible deterrence of a marked police car going down the road. That's a deterrence. When you double up, you reduce that deterrence as well.
On that topic, I have said, and I mean, I'm just a citizen's opinion, but when I look at the Phoenix Police Department, in order to meet the Beats +1 standard, officers have had to be pulled out of other units that would be more proactive. Phoenix years ago, I'm sure you remember, was #1 in auto theft, and they're not even in the top 50 anymore. Right. Does it concern you with reducing some of those other units that crime's going to go up because you're not as proactive as you'd like to be?
Absolutely, and that's why I'm glad we're starting to hire, because we want to be proactive. We were lucky not lucky, we're good too, because our grant submission was very well done, but we just got a grant for 25 police officers that we're going to put in our Community Relations Bureau. Things to do, the Explorer program, a cadet program, advisory boards, biased crimes, all things that we kind of do now, but we need to enhance. And through that grant, 25 more police officers will be able to do that. So yeah, it's concerning, and we're starting to build back some of the things we lost through attrition.
All right, last question then. What do you want the general public to know that doesn't usually have an adverse interaction or isn't in trouble with the law? What do you want the public to know about the job of a police officer?
It's a difficult job. We're here to do the best we can for our community. And if I can say one other thing, if you're interested in being a Phoenix police officer, we're hiring. We're looking for candidates in our community that were born here, lived here, and can serve here. So if you're interested in being a Phoenix police officer, we'd love to have you.
All right, Chief, thank you for some time. And honestly, I've heard nothing but great things. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back here in just a minute. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Mike Broomhead Show. We're glad you're here. Sad story out of NAU this week. Shooting on campus right outside of the dorms that house the fraternities and sororities there. 4 members of a fraternity were shot by a young man, 18 years old. This 18-year-old, his name is Stephen Jones, shoots 4 members of a fraternity, the Delta Chi fraternity. Colin Bro is dead. The other 3 injured, Nicholas Prado, Kyle Zentek, and Nicholas Peering, all are injured in this. The questions about what's going on, gun violence on campus. Again, the same day this happens is the day the president goes to Oregon and visits the family members of the victims there. Interesting, what happened in Oregon is that those families were asking the president not to come. Not the victims' families, but the people there in Oregon. So let's make some comparisons here. You got an 18-year-old kid that's got a gun. Not supposed to have the gun. It's a gun-free zone on campus. You keep a gun in your car. Apparently that's where he had it, but you got to keep it locked in your car. This kid had no business having a gun. The difference here, this is not about being mentally ill. This is not about somebody dangerously mentally ill. We don't have the details yet of what caused the fight that led to the shooting of these people, but look how sad this is. In the early morning hours, there were a couple of parents who received a phone call that their son was dead. And later on that same morning, this Stephen Jones kid called his parents from the police station to tell them, I know I'm a freshman in college, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. This kid's life is over. Getting on social media, we were able to see how students were reacting. You may not have heard of this, but there's an app for your phone. It's called Yik Yak, and is what students use, what kids are using to keep in touch with each other about what's going on. It's social media, and it's done geographically. The GPS on your phone, you connect with people within a geographical area. The school did not put out an alert for an hour and a half after the incident happened. Students found out about it on social media. Some parents have been outraged. And the reason is they want to know why the school was on lockdown, but there wasn't a school-wide announcement about it earlier than an hour and a half. The other side of this is the police say they showed up. It was an isolated incident. They arrested the shooter. There was only one. He only had one gun. And instead of making a panic around school, they waited until they had details and gave the details. But you watch in the coming days what will happen. NAU will be reassessing how they handle these things. This is a once-in-a-lifetime, we pray, once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. You do the best you can to prepare, but even public safety has to say, what did we do good? What did we not do very well? What can we do better? And so in the future, let's hope they don't need to do this again, but let's see how they handle it. The one criticism I have is that NAU decided they were going to hold classes again that day. Why would you hold classes when a shooting happens at 1:30 in the morning, the press conference happened at 6 a.m., filled with students, and then you told them to go to class? It was Friday. You could have sent them home, let them have the weekend to deal with the struggles, and then come back on Monday. That would have been what I would have thought would have been a better idea in hindsight. Coming up in a few moments, Broomhead's Best. We got a great one. It's where we take the best that's happened around here in Arizona, something connected to us, something to feel good about. And we also have something called #this. What's burning up the internet? All that's coming up here in the next few minutes on the Mike Broomhead Show. Appreciate you being here. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The Mike Broomhead Show is brought to you in part by Cliff Castle Casino Hotel, Arizona Christian University, and Sanderson Ford.
Welcome back to the Mike Broomhead Show. Thanks for being with us this week. My favorite part of the show, we always pause, something good, something fun about Arizona. Last week, it was the Arizona Cardinals. This week, redemption for the ASU Sun Devils. It's called Broomhead's Best. All right, this week, ASU, we got to celebrate what happened. They're getting ready to play Colorado. Let's see if they can get the momentum going here. A couple weeks ago, not so good at home against USC, and people were starting to wonder, is this ASU team capable of living up to the hype that they had gotten preseason? Well, they lose at home to USC. Very disappointing. They didn't look very good. They said they could play better. Well, tough task. Now you're going to a top 10 ranked UCLA Bruins at the Coliseum in LA. People didn't hold out much hope for that game. Well, let me tell you something. Quarterback Mike Berkovici, Player of the Week. Punter Matt Hack, Special Teams Player of the Week. Coach Sean Slocum, Coach of the Week. Coach Graham has faith in his players, he says. I've got to tell you how great they are. It is incredible to see what they have done. So congratulations. That's Broomhead's Best. Next up, we have our segment. We call it #This. All right. This week, #This is something that's burning up the internet, something that's gone viral. Hillary Clinton and Saturday Night Live. Well, there was such a love fest with Hillary Clinton last week about her appearance on Saturday Night Live, trying to show her funny side. Well, they did a song, they sang Lean on Me, and they did it with the woman that is the Hillary Clinton character. And it was great. And most people saw the humorous side of Hillary Clinton. Well, later on in the week, continuing with that vein, and this is really burning up the internet during the week, she sent a copy of her book, Hard Choices, to all of the Republican candidates for president. Well, in doing this, obviously, the media started to pay attention, but one of the candidates for president, Rand Paul, handled it flawlessly. This was really turning the tables in the public relations world. She had autographed every one of the books. So Rand Paul on the autograph page opened it up and addressed Hillary Clinton and basically said, Hillary, the fact that you did what you did in the Benghazi scandal, and I'm paraphrasing it, proves you should never hold public office. He then signed it Rand Paul and then put it up on eBay for auction. Now, the auction is capped off and it goes through the weekend at $15,000. They've already received almost $8,000 in bids. This is going to go towards the Rand Paul campaign. You want to talk about something funny? How about the fact that Hillary Clinton is going to raise $15 grand for Rand Paul's campaign? I think she'll probably second guess sending out any more of her books. Oh, by the way, she had plenty on hand. You know why? Nobody bought the book. So Hillary Clinton has plenty of copies. Maybe she'll send me one. If she does, I don't know that I'll auction it off. We'll figure out a great use for it. Thanks again for being here this week. I want to thank Phoenix Police Chief Joe Yahner for joining us. He is a really good cop and very proud of the men and women that serve in the city of Phoenix. And to all the people and first responders out there across the state of Arizona, we do what we do because of what you do to keep us safe. I've got to say, we thank all of you and honor the profession. And it really is an honorable thing that you do for your community. We'll be back again next week with more of the show. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to reach out to us via social media. We love the outreach. Thanks for being on the Mike Broomhead Show. Have a great week, everyone. God bless.
Get more of Mike Broomhead on Facebook, Twitter, and of course weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 550 KFYI.